Welcome back. It's the Kovacs Report, and we have lots of Spider books to review this week. We're going to take a look at issue 2 of Spider-Man Noir. Yes, issue 1 came out last month. Erik, Larsen with art by Broccardo, and the art is really, really good, I got to admit. But I had some reservations. I didn't think this was an incredible new Spider-Man book. It is a new reimagining of the Spider-Man Noir character. It's not connected to any previous stories, which upset quite a few fans. For me, I wasn't too bothered. I just thought, look, just give us a good Spider-Man book, right? But like I say, I had my reservations. But let's see if issue 2 dispels any of those reservations, because I am going to go through it page by page, so there will be spoilers, as I normally tell you. Read the book first if you don't spoil. Like the video if you can, and please do hit that subscribe button. I'd really, really, really appreciate it. So we have Gwen and Stacy on the front cover here, and Spider-Man Noir in the shadows. Let's dive in. Now we've got the usual variant covers, of course. Let's just get through those and get to the previously ... part, because this will sum up issue 1 without me rabbiting on too much about what happened in the first issue. So it's 1939, and Private Detective Peter Parker, using powers he received from a mystical spider bite, moonlights as the vigilante Spider-Man. Recently, he was able to foil the dastardly Scorpion Gang's heist, but had to shoot his way out to do so. Spider-Maning doesn't pay, though, and Peter wouldn't have been able to pay his rent until Gwen Stacy walked into his office. She hired Peter to look for answers about her father's murder, but his investigation soon turned up the worst. That George Stacy, who's usually a huge good guy in the normal 616, hadn't been the straight shooter everyone thought. He'd been moonlighting with the Scorpion Gang all along, and his killer was Spider-Man. Oh dear. Now, this book kicks off with some of the same things that I was complaining about in issue 1. It is intense with the dialogue and the exposition and the big boxes of captions explaining everything, making references to people of that time to try and pull it into this little period drama and make it sort of gel together. And that's what we get. We start off as we started off with the other book, which is a very, very, very long fight where Peter Parker Spider-Man explains every single thing that is happening in every single panel. It's laborious. Erik, Larsen, you are better than this. Anyway, there is some cool stuff. We have this new gang here called, get ready for it, the Hard Boil Gang. And I wonder why. Well, let's look at this chap in the middle here, this giant Hulk here with a Thompson machine gun, I think, who has a to boil, a giant zit on his head. Now, when I saw this double page span, did I go, wow, this looks really cool. We've got the Hard Boil Gang duking it out with the Scorpion Gang in the middle of the street. We've got gangster on gangster action. Peter Parker thrown into the middle of it. Beautiful. Oh, wow, this is going to be a great story. No, I went, that zit's going to pop at some time during this story. And boy, oh boy, I wasn't wrong. Anyway, Pete's doing his best because, of course, he wants to sort of, help the civilians not get shot, break up this battle between these two rival gangs, and get some answers for his investigation. But what we do get is page after page and page after, this is what we're doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what's going to happen to you, thrown in with some references to famous people of the time, just to sort of, glue it all together in 1939. Now, again, the art is beautiful. I'm not disputing that. There's some great art. But eventually, Mr. Boylehead here, Mr. Boylehead turns his direction to Peter Parker, Spider-Man. And, of course, they're going to have a fight. Now, he's called Shoeless Joe Jackass. That's what he calls him, Shoeless Joe Jackass. Why is he called Shoeless Joe Jackass? Well, he hasn't got any shoes on. So that's his name. And guess what happens? The inevitable happens. Pete goes to punch him in the face, but he hits the giant boil zit. And of course, the pus explodes everywhere. This is where Spider-Man books are in this day and age. Yes, bad humor, bad stories, and exploding zits. Really? Really? I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I just didn't find it funny. And I'm sure there's some generation out there reading this book that think it's absolutely hilarious that Spider-Man punched a zit and exploded all over his hand. But I don't. Is it my age, or is it that I just demand better stories? I don't know. I will leave that up to the gods to decide. However, what we do discover is that it is acidic, and it starts burning through Pete's gloves into his hands. And that gives this chappy here, Shoeless Joe Jackass, a chance to knock Spidey's lights out. And when he comes to, we find him on top of a roof. And these young little kiddies here, you know, those little devilish kids. And this dialogue between these kids is very much that sort of Oliver Twist core, blimey. Oh, you know, it's just so over-characterized that it just pulled me out of the book even further. We got Exploding Zip, Shoeless Joe Jackass, and now we've got 4 Oliver Twists explaining everything that happened, right? Because exposition time, it turns out that Shoeless Joe here punched Pete so hard he flew up into the sky and landed on top of the building unconscious, and these kids came to helping out. And we get the explanation of what happened, and he has a chat about his hat and how many adventures his hat's been through. But the kids have found this, I guess it's a gemstone of some kind, maybe. They said, we found this gemstone and we saved it to give it to you, Spidey. We're only poor children living in New York and could potentially make some money and feed our families by selling it, but we saved it for you. And Pete says, good job, boys. Good jobs. Then we find out some other stuff, and off he flies. I don't know. Anyway, we're back. We are back at Gwen's house, actually, and he's wrestling with the sort of reveal. And he's saying, listen, I want to tell you that your dad's not really a good guy. It turns out that he was moonlighting. He became a bit of a bent copper. Not only did he sort of join in the gang, he rose in the gang, became one of their leaders, and started calling some of the shots. He doesn't want to break her heart. Also, he doesn't want to reveal the fact that, you know, Spider-Man killed her father. So he is wrestling. Now, while he's chatting, he spins around and notices the picture, right? The picture's just not so sort of level. And he thinks there must be something behind that. So out of nowhere, while they're talking about the documents that are in front of them, explaining what may or may not happen to her father, he spins round to notice this picture frame cocked. Honestly, it really, really is like feed the plot. Oh, I don't know what to do. But anyway, there is a safe that needs cracking, and Pete knows just the right man to crack it. So I'm going to get to a part here where I need to do my usual disclaimer, because some people cannot understand that I'm critiquing a comic, okay? And I'm not getting political. So I'm going to say it right now. I do not like Nazis. I do not support Nazism. I think the word Nazi has been hijacked and used as a moniker to basically label anyone that someone disagrees with, okay? If you read Martin Gilbert's book, The Holocaust, you'll find out what Nazis really were, okay? And I think the word is very, very, very overused. And I do think, and before you say, listen, Angelo, comics have always been political, I agree. What I have found right now is that every comic has to be political. Every comic has to be a reflection of the real times that we're going on. Every comic has to be some kind of anti-Trump, anti-ICE, anti-something. And it is getting boring. Sometimes when we pick up Spider-Man, we just want to see Spidey punch the bad guy. We don't need propaganda. We don't need a lesson in what's going on in the outside world. We don't need to know the writer's personal views. It is getting tiresome. And this is exactly what happens in this issue. Exactly the same as it happened in issue 1. And I'm going to show you what happened in issue 1 to explain what I mean. Okay, so here we have issue 1. Okay, well, we should have issue 1, but technology does not want to work for me today. So let's maybe try that again. Yeah, it's not working, guys. You see what I have to deal with? Now, bear with me. We'll see if we can make the magic work. If you just hang on just 1 second. Yes, here we go. Issue 1. We see Peter Parker here, okay, chatting to his Aunt May, and off he goes. Maybe he's going to visit the New York Fair, ride some of the rides. He just so happens to bump into a Nazi villain who's stealing money from the fair. We get this lesson that Nazis are bad, which they are. I don't agree with it, but it is shoehorned in just out of nowhere for a couple of pages, and off Spidey goes on his regular mission. Is this going to play into something later on? Maybe. Let's jump back to issue 2, and hopefully, my technology might just work for you guys. So thanks Thanks for being patient. So yes, here we go. Let's jump back to Spider-Man Noir issue 2, which has appeared on the screen. Amazing. So Pete goes off to this bar, the Black Cat Club. Okay, maybe we're going to see the Black Cat. Maybe she's the one that can crack the safe. But while he's there, this random chap turns up that just so happens to be an old school chum of Peter Parker, or rather someone he went to school with. And he's like, "Hi, Arnie, is that you? How you doing, Pete? What are you up to these days, you old horse thief? I'm a private eye, believe it or not. I haven't seen you since 5th grade. You still dipping girls' pigtails in India ink? I know we used to butt heads in grade school, but guys like us need to stick together." So he was a bully, okay? And of course, every bully is bad. And of course, every bully is what? You guessed it. A Nazi supporter. He says, "No hard feelings. Okay, I hope. I'm a night watchman these days. Not much opportunity to dip pigtails." And natural conversation goes straight into say, "Are you going to the Nazi rally later? That Adolf Hitler guy is making a lot of sense. We need to think about who we're letting into this country. Place is going to get overrun with foreigners if we don't do something quick. Seriously, Pete, this is the real deal." He goes, "I'll see you there, pal. You won't want to miss it." So again, we have got messaging thrown into the bloody comic. For what purpose? What purpose? How does this move the story along? Is the Scorpion Gang and good old Gwen Stacy's dad involved with the Nazis? I don't know. But why? Why is it another story with Nazis? Another story saying Trump bad, ICE bad, everyone's a Nazi, everyone's a Nazi. Why? And this isn't me taking a political stand. This is me saying, why is it always in our fucking comics? It is so frustrating. It really, really is. It really, really is. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on. Back at the office, again, he is umming and ahhing about what he should do. And the very attractive Mary Jane turns up and she says, "Listen, you need to tell her the truth. You need to tell her the truth." She already knows Pete's Spider-Man. I'm assuming they had a relationship in the past and they're not together now. That's kind of what I gathered from the dialogue. But she's saying, "Listen, you need to tell her the truth, okay? Responsibilities. Do what you should do." And off they go. And we jump to this Nazi rally, of course, because this is what the real story is about. Spider-Man Torn isn't about maybe clearing Gwen Stacy's dad's name, maybe uncovering the fact that he was a villain in this timeline. No, this is about the fact that the writer, okay, wants to tell you their personal opinion on modern day politics. Angelo, comics have always been political. I'm sick of hearing it. Not every comic has to be, right? And why Peter Parker? Why Spider-Man? Because it's set in 1939. Was this chosen by Erik Larsen to be in 1939 so he could write a Spider-Man Noir story and tell this? Because that's what it feels like. So of course, it descends into absolute mayhem. Okay, this poor Jewish chap, he rushes the stage to try and defend, himself or whatever from what's being said. And Spidey comes in to fight the fascists, and he lets you know we're fighting fascists. And this very cool Nazi villain turns up, spouting gas everywhere, and his arms sort of bend and everything else. So the villain's pretty cool. So he starts pouring this gas out on Spidey, but lucky Spidey spins his webs and starts webbing him up and explaining what he's doing. Every single panel, he explains what he's doing. In case you hadn't heard, I've got an armload of genuine organic spider webs at my disposal, except no substitutes. And you might think, but surely Spider-Man, as amazing as he is going to run out of juice before he can weave an impenetrable basket around me. But that's where you're wrong. I've barely begun to unload on you, and there'll be no escape from. And then this suit fizzles, and the green gas escapes, and it just fizzles down to the floor like the Wicked Witch, and there's just the costume there. And Spidey swings off saying, "What was that all about?" Well, I'll tell you what that's all about. That's about telling you that the writer is very, very angry with current American politics and the administration, and that they're all Nazis. End of story. This is no longer a Spider-Man story. This is just personal messaging. Anyway, he goes back to his office where he finds this young lady here, Gwen Stacy. And basically she says, "I don't want to be alone tonight. Stay with me, Peter." And he says, "Okay, I'll get my toothbrush." And off we go. To be continued. Not to be continued by me, because this book It's dead to me. This isn't Spider-Man. This is politics. And I'm absolutely fucking sick of it. I really, really am. Now, I am going to get attacked in the comments. I'm going to get the emails telling me that I'm a Nazi supporter, which I'm clearly not, because I've explained that several times throughout this video, that this isn't because I support them. It's because I don't want it in every single comic that I read. And I don't want it in Spider-Man. It has no place in Spider-Man. Captain America, absolutely. The Avengers, okay. But Spider-Man, no. It's getting tiresome, and we have to stop accepting this, because at this point, comics, or most of them have been hijacked. And I'm starting to feel that this is all about indoctrinating a generation into a political belief. And it's sad, okay? Because that's not freedom of speech, okay? That's not making a choice. Yes, Nazis are bad. A lot of things that are going on in the real world right now are absolutely fucking terrible. And I don't support them. I absolutely don't. But what I do want is good comics. And I want decent stories about my favorite superheroes punching the shit out of bad guys. Or at least, if you're going to sew in something like this, okay, make it part of the story and not just the message of the entire fucking series. Anyway, you can tell I'm a bit upset and angry about this, okay? And again, I know I'm going to get butchered in those comments, but you cannot deny that this isn't a comic book. It's a message. And hopefully this stuff's going to stop soon, and we're going to get some decent stories. Some decent stories, or at least one decent Spider-Man a book. They're killing the only decent Spider-Man book we have, which is Ultimate Spider-Man. And now we've got 5 Spider-Man books. Actually 6, because Amazing Spider-Man's twice a month. And they're all terrible. They're all absolutely terrible. Anyway, those are my thoughts. And I would be very, very interested to hear your thoughts. Let's have a friendly discussion in the comments if we can. That would be great. If you disagree, and that's absolutely fine, because at the end of the day, if you like this, brilliant. You've not wasted your money. That's absolutely fine. You are allowed to read what you want. You're allowed to believe what you want. Okay. I just want good stories, man. That's all I want. Anyway, there we go. Let's move on to the next review. Hopefully you've liked the video. Hopefully you've subscribed. Hopefully I'll see you very soon.